Welcome to Peculiar Tales. I'm your host, KMS. Today's rather Lovecraftian tale regards the ocean, particularly the pull it has on us, especially with its beauty during a storm. Perhaps the pull is from something much deeper than we think. The ocean is a stunning and mysterious place, which some find irresistible, even with the many dangers and unknowns it holds. The pull, at times, may feel unnatural and otherworldly. This tale tells that it is indeed, and something best not to fall prey to, or else you may find yourself part of a breathtaking experience, both figuratively and literally. This is the call to the sea. Okay, I know you'll think this is part of some crazy far-fetched conspiracy like everything else I bring in, but bear with me and check this out. It's a portable tape recorder circa 1992, a bit old, encrusted with salt, but surprisingly still working alright. I know, but why is this old tape recorder such a big deal? Well, it's related to a missing persons case from that year. But it's not just that. This thing accounts for 3 missing people and correlates to plenty more. How I got a hold of it? Well, that's for another time. Or, better yet, just don't ask again. Anyways, I'm already getting off track. Let's just start this from the beginning. Good coffee, by the way. Strong, intense, just like this is going to be. Now, in the late 80s and early 90s, there were, like always, a lot of missing persons reports all across the globe. But, for some reason, in these years in particular, a good chunk of these reports were located next to the ocean. They were on the beach, and boom, next thing everyone knows is they're just gone for no reason. Most of these people had no reason to disappear either. No crimes, no depressing life stories, pretty average life. In fact, they were all strangely boring, unassuming, people you wouldn't really care about otherwise. This kid with the tape recorder, same story, though I guess his case did garner some attention, but locally at best. Anyways, this recorder right here, I think, holds the key, or at least tells us, something about all these cases, and it's big. Now, on to the kid. Michael Adams, born in northwestern Florida, February 23rd, 1974. Lived there all of his life. Normal. Well, awkward, nerdy, upper middle class type kid in a small Florida town. Come 1992, kid turns 18, has a celebration of sorts out on a small local beach, then promptly disappears. Only evidence found was this tape recorder, given to him by his parents that day and found later in a shack on the beach. After never finding him, they eventually ruled the case a suicide, but there's way too much going on in this tape for it to be that simple. I don't even think they can be sure he's dead. So, now that you've heard the backstory, let me play this thing for you. Are you ready? Here we go. Guess I should introduce myself since this is my first time using this new recorder. Old one crapped out on me. Thanks for the new one, Mom and Dad. I'm Mike. It's my birthday today. I'm sure you can still hear all the fun in the background, which I am currently trying to get away from. It was surprisingly nice of, well, a lot of people from school to throw me this party, and very much out of character for all of them. Maybe it's because we only have about 3 months left before we move on with our lives, go to college, or get a job, or whatever else. And they wanted to make up for all the shit they've done to me over the years. Or maybe they're just getting nostalgic over our tight-knit little class or something. I'm not much to party though, and now that they've begun the drinking and smoking, all that great stuff that I'm just not a big fan of, well, I'm over it. Besides, once the alcohol kicked in, I think they all forgot about me anyways, and it became more of their own party. It was a nice day today, especially for it only being February, but the temperature dropped quick when the sun went down. Now the wind's picked up too, looks to be bringing in a storm. Before the clouds blocked out the moon, I could see them up in the sky, almost swirling. Super dark, fast-moving, kind of ominous, if you ask me. Now there's an almost deep purple glow in the sky. Not too noticeable unless you pay attention, but beautiful, and still ominous nonetheless. I keep feeling sprinkles. Not sure if it's starting to rain or if it's just the spray off the water from all the wind. I can see it coming and going in the beam from my flashlight, and it's definitely rain. Damn it. Let me put my hood up quick. Alright, now it's time to find some shelter. I really should have just started heading home instead of walking the beach. A boat shed or something? Door's wide open. I hope the owners don't mind. Weird. It's exactly what I thought, but there's no boat in here currently. It looks like someone was, or maybe is still living here though. There's a cot, a table, a chair. Let me see if I can... Yep, a light. Power is still on. A camping stove and some soup and canned food, sort of like somebody was camping out in here. Everything has a small layer of dust and salt residue on it. I'm guessing it's been sitting here untouched for at least a few months. I'm not sure exactly. And what's this? A notebook. Looks like a journal. Damn, it's pouring bad now. I hope this doesn't keep up. If it were warmer out, I wouldn't mind walking home in this, but it's just too cold this time of year. Guess I'll have to wait it out. In the meantime, let's look at this journal. And let me turn on this stove. A little heat to help warm me up. Entry 1. Since everything's gone terribly wrong thus far in my life, I've decided it's time to finally follow my passions in writing and my dream to be an author. I've used the majority of my money to get here to Florida, away from my old job, from friends and family, away from my old life as a whole. What little I did have left went to renting out this little seaside shack on a small, private, secluded beach away from the tourist further south. This place certainly is not a vacation home, or even a home for that matter. Its main use was to house their boat. Paying them up front with what I would say is quite a decent sum of cash for housing such as this, they could not refuse my offer to stay here for at least a few months. They kindly moved out their boat and even provided me with some lovely furniture, a simple cot, a chair, and a table. Everything else I need is in my pack, and I believe I have enough money left for a decent amount of food as long as I spend it frugally. These rustic accommodations and this small town lifestyle intermixed with the slow, easy living of Florida will be the perfect setting to concentrate on writing the next great American novel. First, though, I must get back into the groove of things. Hence why I am writing in this notebook as if it were a journal thus far. I'm expecting at least a couple more of these entries, and then onwards to creation. Entry 2. I've still had no luck even scratching the surface of what I will write. I've had a few ideas floating around in my head, but none so far that seem worth it. Perhaps I just need more time to adjust to this new way of living. I have begun to retrain my brain to be more observant of details, as there is not much else for me to do. I walk up and down the length of the beach at least a few times per day, once in the morning, once around noon, and then once in the evening. I watch from sunrise to sunset, see how the tides change and how the sand changes, how shells gather and disappear, the different seabirds patrolling the beach, the crabs scuttling across the sand, the way the waves come up onto the beach, sometimes crashing, sometimes gently. It is a stunning sight, and I feel lucky to be able to observe it at such lengths. Entry 3. I am certainly no expert on Florida's weather patterns, considering I've only been here a short time, but the storm today is odd. It came from seemingly nowhere. Heavy, dark clouds gather in the sky and are practically spiraling. The wind is whirring everywhere chaotically, sending the now pouring rain in every direction. The waves are crashing against the shore in a way I've never seen them do so since I've been out here, lacking a pattern, the ins and outs erratic. Considering I've yet to witness a hurricane in person, my best guess would be that, but this seems different. There's an odd violet glow in and about everything, as well as a distant hum of sorts. Not the wind, but deeper. Beyond it, but closer. Entry 4. Being rather intrigued by this strange storm, I decided to briefly walk the beach while it continued, to better experience this perhaps once-in-a-lifetime circumstance. As it turns out, I found myself experiencing something even odder than I first expected. Upon exiting my humble abode, I was immediately soaked and had wind whipping through my hair, but the temperature today is incredibly hot, and this actually made the shower rather pleasant. On my stroll through the strange violet-hued beachfront, I looked out at the mess of waves in what I at first thought was chaos, in fact, had a pattern. The usual pattern of waves coming to shore and then returning back to whence they came persisted, but the wild patterns of crashing and commingling tides was caused by what I would describe as a counter-tide. In what seemed to be a radial pattern, waves were heading in the opposite direction, all to the center of the storm, where the darkest clouds circled. Now, as a preface for this next part, I am unsure if this was a truly strange reality or a figment of my imagination, but I saw a man swimming out in these waves. He seemed to be clothed, or at least from what I could see, he was wearing what looked like a polo shirt, and my assumption was that he wore shorts or pants as well. My immediate thought was that he was in danger, but moments after, I realized how utterly calm he seemed. He swam at a leisurely pace, and as if there was no storm at all. In a similar vein to my peacefulness in the wild storm, I thought that perhaps he was simply experiencing it on a more personal level, albeit a dangerous one. Upon reaching the radial counter-tide, he was whisked away at a much faster pace, but continued to swim as calmly as ever. What I saw next is rather indescribable unless you saw it with your own eyes, but there was a brief flashing of multiple colors in the sea beneath the storm, turning the waves from a deep, frothy teal to seemingly every color that you could imagine, and even those which you could not. Then he was gone, sucked under, but not in a violent way, just down into the depths. At least it seemed that way. The entire situation seemed too unreal, too unearthly to be the truth. Shortly after this man's disappearance beneath the waves, the storm ended, the clouds quickly dispersed, and the tides returned to a normal, fairly calm pattern. Now I am left here, rather baffled and still soaking wet. Entry 5. I've still made no progress on any kind of story or even a good general idea of one, for that matter. My mind has been distracted, or plagued rather. Each night I dream of that man in the sea. Each night I hear that hum beyond the waves, but also deep inside of me. Each night I see the dark violet hues, the churning teal of the water, and then that brilliant strobing of colors, which grows brighter and more beautiful the farther into the depths he, or oftentimes I, go upon being pulled beneath the surface. Entry 6. Those infinite colors, the embrace of the water, wet and cool, but also warm and comforting. I wish I could experience it in person rather than just in my dreams. That deep hum, it calls to me, tells me to join it far beneath, beyond this pointless world constructed by humanity. At least then I would be able to fulfill my true purpose rather than waste my life frivolously trying to become something I'll never be. Entry 7. The dream has progressed further now. I am finally able to see what awaits me after my descent. A great and ancient city, risen from beneath millennia of sands, carved of ancient rock, which humankind has never seen before, in shapes of which we have never experienced. Within this towering city, this temple, it rests, the one that calls to me, massive, utterly massive, a million eyes that upon gazing into are vast with so much knowledge, so many sights, galaxies of understanding far beyond our comprehension. Then darkness, as purpose, is fulfilled, a calm nothingness that is also everything. Entry 8. My time has come and I am beyond pleas. The storm has returned and it invites me into the sea. I will finally see the beauty of it all firsthand and then see what it sees, even if it is but a glimpse before the darkness comes. And that's where it ends. What the hell? Weird stuff right there. If it weren't for this storm, I'd bet on this guy being drugged out of his mind, but the similarities are, well, creepy. The storm coming from nowhere, the waves, the clouds, the purple sky, the hum, the call, the colors. So pretty, so wild. I've never seen them before, and those eyes. I need to go before I run out of time, to find my destiny, to reach my fate. And after that, the tape just goes until it runs out. Weird shit, am I right? Really weird shit. So nobody has anything on the wannabe author besides the old couple that let him rent out the boat shed behind their house. They're both dead now, but when they were interviewed, they did say in the height of the summer, a guy knocked on their door asking to rent it, and like any reasonable people, they said no at first, but he presented them with a fairly big wad of cash, and they changed their mind. Never said his name, nobody's ever reported him missing, a literal no one. He told them not to disturb him and that he'd be there for at least a few months. They ended up leaving the state for some family-related issues, thought they'd return sooner, but got caught up in everything out of state and, well, kind of forgot he was even there. didn't even know how long he'd been gone for, or that all of his stuff was just abandoned there, along with his journal. As for the guy he saw in the water, I personally think he was real too, not a hallucination sort of like our author friend started to think in the journal. Just another nobody like him. That's why neither of them were reported missing. Coffee's getting cold. Anyways, where's the journal? The kid, Mike, seemingly dropped it right on the burner he lit. Luckily, it didn't burn the place to the ground, but left that notebook a charred crisp. This tape right here is the only thing we've really got to work with. A hoax? No, absolutely not. Why do you always do this? Doubt, doubt, doubt every time. You think the kid could come up with this story on the spot and vanish without a trace? It's way too elaborate. What about all the other people that went missing that year? Let me see here. I pulled it up on my phone earlier. Look, report after report of missing persons, all by the sea, all after a storm, all fairly average, unassuming, unimportant for a big story, until you piece it all together. Believe what you want, but there's something out there in the water doing who knows what. And what happens if it comes back? That was the call to the sea, and this is Peculiar Tales. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please consider hitting the subscribe button below, leaving a like, a comment, and lastly, clicking the bell to be notified when the next Peculiar Tale in my collection is released. If you'd like to download this tale and others, click the Bandcamp link in the description below. It's free to download, but donations are greatly appreciated. You can also donate directly to the podcast through the PayPal link also found in the description below. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you next time.